welcome back. I was going to listen to the following debate while I stream the game, but I can feel that I'm going to want to stop to say something more than play. Since starting my deconversion from Catholicism and Christianity, Matt Dillahunty and some others have featured a lot on my playlist behind the scenes. But today's topic is not so much about proving the existence of God, and it is something I understand as a user of crypto. Today, Matt and his host discuss crypto and whether or not it is a religion. Scammers preying on hopes and dreams with promises of great rewards with get-rich-quick schemes isn't such a far cry from believing that confessing your sins to a priest in the next cubicle guarantees your heavenly refuge. Just add a handful of prayers for luck. New technology arises, scammers adapt old tricks, and governments try to put a stop to it because they didn't think of it first. Let's listen together while I play crypto and NFT-based games in the background.
Hey everybody, it's roughly 7 p.m. Central on Wednesday. Welcome to the Hang Up. I'm Matt Dillahunty. There's a lot going on this week, and I haven't paid attention to much of it at all. I found out that Ukrainian President Zelensky is in D.C. speaking with President Biden in Congress and making an appeal, and I haven't been able to hear any of that because I spent all day running around picking up wood to build stuff and everything else. I know that a lot of people in the audience aren't going to be doing much of anything this weekend, despite the fact that it is Christmas for some people and other holidays for other people. I'm mostly going to be hanging out with you guys. Actually, we're going to do an episode of the Sunday show. I thought that I was going to be driving to Tulsa, Oklahoma to pick up 4 new snakes, but that fell through. And so we're going to stay here and we are going to build. That's funny. That's was my phone ringing by somebody who should know that I'm on the air but doesn't. So I hope it's not too important. We're going to be building a new rat enclosure, but that's not what any of this is about. I will get all the announcements for upcoming shows and all that stuff from Jimmy as we move along. But a couple of weeks ago, somebody asked me, "Is crypto a religion?" And I was like, "I that seems silly to me." And then they sent me a link of like a motivational crypto guru standing on stage, clearly preaching a sermon about how those people who were going to be investing in crypto, this was about them and what they were going to do and how they were going to change the world and how they were essential. What you're going to do is going to change this and you're going to change the dynamic and all this. And I can't remember all the crap they said, but it was absolutely a sermon that was an advertisement. Now, I get it. There's a lot of self-help bullshit artists out there that I've watched over the years. They get up and they tell people that, hey, you're living your life wrong and I can tell you how to live your life better. And they do motivational stuff and they're always selling a million things. And I've never really fallen in with any of them, but I understand people do. And the people who do, by the way, are not stupid. Anybody can be duped given the right circumstances. But then Trump came out with his NFT trading cards. And yes, I'm aware crypto and NFT aren't the same thing. But in my book, they might as fucking well be. They are two things that I do not grasp. I don't see the appeal of. I view them both as absolute scams, and I could be wrong. But I don't know if it actually qualifies as a religion or a cult or anything like that. But I could certainly see how people might build something like a religion around it. And since I don't know shit and definitely don't know enough about this, I brought in Phil Ferguson to talk about crypto, NFT, and what's a scam and what's not, and whether or not it's a religion. Phil, by the way, is the host of the amazingly named Phil Ferguson Show, and is the are you the CEO? Are you the sole whatever of Polaris Financial Services?
I'm the only one.
He's it. He is Polaris Financial Services.
Yeah, I've worked with other people in the past. I've decided not to do that again. So yeah, it's Polaris Financial Planning. You
Planning.
can go to the shitty ass website, polarisfinancialplanning.com. You can find me on Facebook, maybe on Twitter. I'm not sure.
I literally had it typed up, Polaris Financial Planning, PFP, and still said service.
That's all right. It's all
I'm a
good,
doofus.
man. It's all good.
So how are you doing? And is crypto a religion?
Yeah, it was funny. I was going to start by saying that everything you just said was wrong. No, I'm
Cool.
just kidding. Everything is wrong. Is it a religion? Yeah, I guess it depends on your definition of a religion. I think you could have a reasonable argument starting from the point that it's a religion and making the other person kind of defend it. I think what may be better is a self-deluding Ponzi scheme. Something akin to I really love the Emperor's New Clothes as an analogy, because when I first started hearing about crypto and Bitcoin and all these other things, the people who are the most adamant were some of the people believed to be very smart, the smartest. And this is like the story of the Emperor's New Clothes, that only people who are unqualified, only people who aren't smart enough can't see the magic fabric. So if you don't understand crypto, you haven't looked into it. And it was everything was somebody pushing it, promoting it, selling it, trying to convince you to get into it, because the way crypto goes up in value is if more investors, get involved, and it pushes up the price. And I can even ask a very simple question, and maybe someone's screaming at us now when I say this, or they're going to want to call in. I'll ask somebody, if Bitcoin has a value, if Bitcoin has a utility to it, it's a useful thing for some reason, and maybe you could defend that that's true. Does it get any better at doing its job when it's $60,000 a coin versus $16,000 a coin? I think it's just as effective or not effective at one price or the other. And of course, the classic problem, and why the U.S. really hasn't cracked down on this stuff yet, is it an investment or is it a currency? It's kind of neither. I think maybe I would say not an investment at all, but a shitty currency, really shitty currency. Of course, I'll get people saying, Phil, I put in $10,000 and I made $100,000. Doesn't that make it a good investment? And I said, if you go to the racetrack and you bet on a horse that pays 10 to 1 and you put down $10,000, and after the race, the horse won, you get $100,000. Is that an investment? I said, no, that's gambling. I go, okay, well, so you now just agreed that your point of having more money at some point later in time versus a lower amount of money in an earlier time doesn't necessarily make something an investment at all. It could be a bet.
Yeah,
it could be a gamble. It could be luck.
I've never been good. You know me. I've never been good with money. I've never been good at investments, and I stayed away from them largely. As a matter of fact, the biggest investments I'm making, not to make this all about snakes, because Arn's going to be on next week for essentially the snake show, because we're both obsessed.
Nice.
But the biggest investment I've made is business-related expenses with respect to breeding snakes, and it's picking out which snakes are going to be producing the most desirable offspring that might make a profit. That's as close as I get to figuring out investment. When it comes to crypto, I have no idea. I remember people trying to sell me probably 15, 16 years ago silver coins that they were saying this is a new alternate currency, and we would go out to dinner at places.
I know what you're talking about.
And they'd be like, they'd try to pay their bill in them, and if they wouldn't, then they just use real money, and if they would, then they would offer them these silverish coins. I don't know what that was, but it always felt weird to me. But the problem is, it feels weird to me because I'm someone who has never investigated that stuff and just accepts our current fiat money system. So for me, I've bought into the notion that this dollar bill here has value, just like everybody else. But in that case, it's backed up by the government that we're all paying taxes to, and all that stuff.
Right.
Is of these, and it's like every day or for a while, it seemed like every day there was a new cryptocurrency, and they're all, as far as I can tell, backed by nothing and no one. And it's like, hey, go ahead and invest, because if you and I can convince other people that this is worth something, we'll make money.
Yeah, there's specifically with Bitcoin, because that's the grand poobah
Sure.
of everything. Um, every promise that I've ever heard about Bitcoin, why it's a good thing, it all turns out to be false. One of them is it's easy to understand. No, it's not. It's easy to trade. Well, turns out, no, it's not. I mean, if you've really spent the time and effort on it, it's easy to trade, but it's not like me moving money from one bank account to another bank account. That's easy. And there's so many ways that you can move money today with different apps. You don't even need the crypto coin. They'll say it has limited supply because a fiat currency has unlimited supply. The government can always print more. Well, I don't see that as a bug in the system. I see that as a feature. So if we're getting into a recession or something, the government can put a little bit more money in to try to juice up the system so we don't have a recession.
But what do they back that money with? And cryptocurrency is not for dumb people.
And when things get going too high and there's a little bit of inflation, you can shrink the money supply, which is actually what the United States is doing, but yet Bitcoin keeps growing. The funny thing is that the total crypto market was about 3 trillion. And I just pulled this up for the show here. I can look at this. The total crypto market as of today is 810 million. So it's lost, 65% of its value, something like that in total. And the next thing that's interesting is out of the top 6 largest cryptocurrencies by market cap, 3 of them are dollar coins, or coins that are pegged to the US dollar.
Stable coins.
So their goal is to be worth $1 today and worth $1 always. And I was like, well, if I'm going to deal with something that's always worth $1, why don't I just use $1? But 3 of the top 6
that's
are
not an
dollars.
investment. That is
No,
literally,
yeah.
It is, I'm going to give you $1 and I will always get back $1.
Yeah. And you could take dollars. So let's see, what's the biggest one here? USD coin. It's worth $1. So if it says its market cap is 44, that's millions, billion, $44 billion in this US dollar coin, what's it backed by? And they'll say, well, we hold that much money, US dollars, in reserve. Really? You're sitting on $44 billion of US cash and just doing nothing with it? Are you? And we've had several currency
And
or
who's sitting on it?
stable coins. What's that?
Who's sitting on it?
Well, and that's a great freaking question. Whoever is the sponsor of the coin. We've had a few cases in the past year of other stable coins, is what they call them. They've had a few stable coins where it turns out they're worth theoretically 44 or $50 billion. And then someone finds out, oh, wait, they're not holding any reserves, or they're only holding 10% of the reserves to back that statement up. And so the value collapses. And the value collapses. This is really funny, I think. The stable coins collapse in value because it was deemed that there wasn't sufficient funds to back up the claims of what its value is actually worth.
Prove to me that all countries have the exact amount in gold as they do of their currency floating around. That stopped with Nixon.
But then when you go to Bitcoin, the whole purpose of it is that there is nothing.
If I'm not wrong,
to back
I am in South Africa.
So the ones that didn't have sufficient or 100% backing collapsed, but something that like Bitcoin and Ether that have no backing of any kind, and they've promised no backing of any kind, that hasn't fallen yet. At least, I mean, it's fallen some, but it's still out there. So it's funny, the stable coins take up a larger and larger percentage. Yeah.
Isn't there a problem here? Because what pops up in my head, and my head as somebody who's been doing magic forever and studying all kinds of other scams and stuff forever, it goes immediately to perpetual motion. There's no way we're going to have a perpetual motion machine. And so if you want $1, a crypto dollar that stays even with the dollar, and somebody is sitting on $40 billion in actual dollars to back up this $40 billion in virtual coins. That 44 or 40, we'll just call it 40 billion. That 40 billion that's there, you have to store that somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if you only pay $1 a year to store and secure that, then by definition, that means your $40 billion is now 39 billion, blah, 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 minus one. And won't that always accumulate?
Bitcoin has its own process that we could really get into painful detail with, and I don't know how the US dollar coins like Tether and USD coin someone starts them. But like you said, one of the things I always look at a business is how do they make money?
Yeah.
How does a USD coin, the person who's running that, make money? And you say, well, nobody's running it. Well, then who's holding the reserve, or is there no reserve? Because then we're back to the same point where everyone says it's $1 until they don't. And so it's a fiat currency again, because instead of the government saying it's worth $1, it's just a bunch of dudes in their basements on computers saying it's worth $1. And when they change their opinion, it's not worth $1 anymore. So that doesn't solve problems that crypto are supposed to solve. It just always keeps getting worse. The 8th largest, by the way.
It should have backing, just like any currency.
Is Dogecoin.
Yeah.
And that one was.
I got a Dogecoin fan in here.
Oh, well, maybe they can tell us why, because I don't see it. But Dogecoin was started
I don't see the utility.
Joke. You can also, my favorite, Matt, and it goes perfect with your shirt and almost mine too. Mine's a little bluer than purple. There's a Grimace coin.
Nice.
Like the character from McDonald's commercials.
That I resemble when I put my purple hat or hood on over the top of this.
I think it was the world's biggest media whore, attention whore, Elon, who at some point said, I can't wait for McDonald's to start accepting cryptocurrency. And the McDonald's official account responded back, yeah, maybe we should make a Grimace coin. And someone saw that and went out and registered a Grimace coin and sold 1 million Grimace coins for like $1 a piece, scooped up $1 million, and Grimace coin still exists, but it's worth a fraction. And I think the last time I looked at it, just for laughs, it had a $900 trading day, but it'll still show, something like $1 million of market cap, but it trades $100 a day. So what most of these coins are, is they're hanger-oners. They just still exist. They have a theoretical market cap because someone paid $1 for one, and there's 1 million issues. So now it's worth $1 million. No, it's not.
I mean,
You're not gonna find someone with $1 million.
I get some of that stuff because there's collectibles market. So for example, I play Magic the Gathering, and I have since beta, and I have a bunch of actual physical decks. But I have a physical card here that has some value, and that value goes up and down. So, but it's always in dollars, or actual currency that we're doing it with. But how are cryptocurrencies different from NFTs? Because one of the things that people told me, is like, oh, the difference with NFT is that you actually own something. I'm not convinced that you do, but it's like a virtual Magic the Gathering card.
Yeah, you got it. It's a fine line of distinction that may not be worth our discussion of it, but there it is. A cryptocurrency, and of course, one of the things that's really weird is every cryptocurrency can be different and have different rules, and it can be controlled in different ways, which are hopefully non-centralized. But now you have cryptocurrencies that are centralized, like there's Binance, which is now the largest exchange now that FTX is out of the way. And it had talk about magic trick, Matt. Make 8 billion disappear. Go. Absolutely staggering. Just poof, the money's gone. And their excuse was, we didn't lose 8 billion. It was an accounting error. You go, well, where's the 8 billion? Well, we don't know. You didn't make it better. You just made it worse. But Binance is now the biggest current crypto exchange, and there's a Binance coin which they run, so it's centralized. They control it, and there's a Binance US dollar coin.
Talking about Magic the Gathering, I... Sorry. Talking about Magic the Gathering, I play Splinterlands. This is it in the background. It is a card game on the Wax blockchain. And here are my cards. I've got gold cards and I've got normal cards in between the different elements. I own each card. Each one is in my wallet. This platform does have the battles, and we battle each other daily. There are some token rewards which can be changed to Wax if you want, or you can buy more cards. You can merge them to increase levels and things like that. And as you merge them and you play, you get rewards, daily rewards, and there are seasonal competitions where we win chests or we win rewards that are in the chests. They can vary from potions to crystals to other cards that you can add to your collection, or you can merge with other cards to increase their levels. And if you eventually want to sell them, you can sell them. I prefer to call them play to own games, because I don't really look at it as in going for the profit. I do enjoy the games. Let's look at one example. Let's replay. And we'll let them carry on. Not playing. Go. And you've got daily combat points that regenerate, and quite a lot that does go into the game. But it is not just about the get rich.
There are 5 and 6 on our list, by the way, of the biggest crypto coins. So you have the exchange creating the coins that you use to buy and sell on their exchange. When FTX went broke, many other companies halted trading, also went broke, because a lot of these companies all owe each other money. And like Bitcoin was supposed to be decentralized. It's just going to be everybody in the whole world has access and control of this. It's not centralized. Well, last I looked, something like 42% of all Bitcoins are owned by a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of 1% of the world's population. So it's more concentrated than US dollars are. Well, okay, so it didn't solve that problem. I don't know. It's just wacky. Absolutely wacky. Oh, difference between NFTs. Yeah, it's a fine line. With NFT, non-fungible tokens, you're supposed to get the rights, I guess, to something that is unique, but you could do a screenshot. I guess it's like if you took a photograph of the Mona Lisa and made that into an NFT, someone could take a picture of your picture, but they wouldn't have your picture. It'd be a little different, some kind of degradation or quality loss, taking a picture of a picture.
If it is a game item, you cannot play the game if you do not have the specific item that is made for it. Yes, you can copy pictures, but not every picture is attached to the smart contract that gives it its copyright. Basically, if I go look here, and I go to my cards, each card has its own serial number, and it will normally tell you how many are in a series, and depending on the type of game, like this one where you can take multiples of the same card and merge them the whole time, you are constantly burning, so there are mechanisms to help try and keep the market from being flooded with specific cards. Like you see this as a card ID, and that is in my wallet. I have not merged this one at all. If, let's see, I have a high level somewhere. Golds always start at a level 3. Let's remove the golds. Let's see. The death has quite a lot. Level 2. Okay, let's look at the level 2. As you can see, I have used 6 cards to get it to this current level, so I've basically burned 5 to keep this one, but at least its levels climbed and its values climbed. If I want to sell it as well.
You would have the only picture of the picture. I don't know. It sounds like turtles all the way down. It's tokens all the way down. Just
Well, it's one of the things is that Trump's NFTs sold out. Sold out really quickly, like a day.
No utility.
And then the price climbed over the next couple of days. And since then, it has dropped more than 70%.
Oh my God, I hadn't even thought about market. What did it go to?
Let's see. Trading volume fell 57% from Sunday to Monday, while the floor price for the NFTs has dropped 74% since the Saturday peak. And right now they're selling for I can't tell when this was, but it was like $680 a piece. But Monday, the trading dropped 57% to about $836,000 worth of Ethereum, I think. These things are, so it was, the total volume was almost 2 million for the day, and then it dropped down to 836,000.
What made them special?
Which I think puts it under the original million.
Well, I think the original sales prices were
$99,
$45,000, so it's like 4.5 million.
This other game that I'm playing is Realm, and it's also a competitive game against other players. There are rankings. This is season 6, and it works on RLM, which is also on the Wax blockchain. If you go to Wax, I'm going to go to my Wax wallet. It's not like the Bitcoin or Ethereum that was just designed for the sake of being created. Wax does also work on Ethereum, but it does not have the same gas fees or transaction fees and things like that. And here are my NFTs for various collections within my wallet. And you can also then see which decentralized apps there are. So the Wax blockchain was initially created for gaming, and it's got the biggest NFT market in the world. So even though the value drops and rises with the dollar, as long as it's got functionality and you've got games you like to play, when the value's down, you can buy some extra, but you can also earn in-game tokens. Like I am playing for RLM on this game, and once I get to 4,000, I will go to the store, and I've only got 4 of the helpers, and I need the others. So once I've got 4,000 RLM, I will just buy one with the in-game currency instead of having to use any of my own money. And I do quite a lot of research into trying to find the free-to-play NFT and crypto games. And so I am in Africa, and I need to multiply my rand by 19 for $1. So I am rather careful with what I spend money on and share with other people.
So the project has racked up more than $8.7 million worth of secondary trades, which means a whole bunch of people bought them for 99 and then sold them for 1,000. And then the people who bought them for 1,000 can't unload them for anything higher. And so the prices drop back down to where they're like worth 4 or 5 times. I don't know. The numbers I'm seeing here don't make sense.
I'm trying to figure it out myself as we go, but I'm probably not going to get it either.
That was a scam. They hyped it.
The greater fool. It doesn't matter what you pay for something as long as you can sell it to a greater fool at a higher price.
Yeah.
And if there's a limited supply of 45,000, 44,000 NFTs of Trump, and more than that number of people want to buy them, the price will go up. But it's meaningless. I mean, it's I don't know. It's just wacky. Of course, there's all the allegations of potential money laundering because they limited people to $9,900 in purchases. And there's also supply. It's just kind of like we learned this a few years ago. A relative died with Hitler stamps, postage stamps from Germany from World War II. And you look at this sheet of stamps and you're like, oh my God, these are Hitler stamps. They got to be worth something. And turns out they're worth like 12 cents for a whole sheet. Because at the end of the war, they printed these things in the millions, and most people don't really even want to collect them because it's Hitler. So there's no supply. I mean, there's a lot of supply and there's no demand. So collectibles might be a good analogy for some of these things, as long as there's more people that want to buy and own them and are willing to pay higher prices. And of course, you also get the trick where if 44,000 people bought these Trump NFTs and only 5 people want to sell them and 1,000 people want to buy from those 5 people, that's the market trade. That's the market price. There is a transaction. Poof, that's the market price. Doesn't mean they're worth much necessarily, because once the people that bought them, nobody else wants them.
Yeah, it's like, I think one of the things that confuses me is that correct me if I'm wrong, there are no cryptocurrencies or NFTs that are traded on any of the stock markets.
That's my understanding. Yes, you have to go to a crypto exchange, and those are, well, you can go to a crypto exchange, or I think at least with Bitcoin, you can do transactions between one person and another, where you transfer money from your wallet to another wallet. And that's one of the ideas of
on the same blockchain
exchange or a big boss kind of person or a government controlling it. It's all between individuals, and it's all recorded in the ledger. So to make it like really simple, if I lend you $10, we both get a sheet of paper and it says Phil lends Matt $10. I write that, you write that, we match, we look, and we both agreed that I gave you $10. And that's the ledger. You could kind of say it's the blockchain, and in this block, there's only one transaction. That's it. And we close it up, and now 2 or 3 other people want to play in our little game, and we can hand money back and forth to each other. And we say, and we start writing down more on that ledger. And after you get to 5 or 10 transactions, you just say, we're going to make another block. And now that's fixed. And I don't have to rely on you having the ledger because I have a ledger. And this third and fourth and fifth person have a ledger. And all these people have a distributed ledger that say, no, Matt, you might say you don't owe Phil $10, but everyone else agrees that you do. And so that's kind of like a blockchain technology, but you can do that without having Bitcoin. So
there's some other stuff that I kind of want to get to, but we've got 2 callers here, but also I'm being told that there's a guy in chat who says that neither one of us know what we're talking about, and his name's Doug. Doug, why won't you call in? Just call in. We're open to being corrected or educated. What we're talking about, and his name's Doug. Doug, why won't you call in? Just call in. We're open to being corrected or educated or whatever. If you've got some data or facts, I've already acknowledged that I'm an idiot on this. I'd rather not. I've got PTSD from. Did one of us know what we're? There's some other stuff that I kind of want to get to, but we've got 2 callers here, but also I'm being told that there's a guy in chat who says that neither one of us know what we're talking about, and his name's Doug. Doug, why won't you call in? Just call in. We're open to being corrected or educated or whatever. If you've got some data or facts, I've already acknowledged that I'm an idiot on this. I'd rather not. I've got PTSD from Iraq. Well, I'm sorry to hear that. But
when I first did a double show for my podcast, The Phil Ferguson Show, I think it was 5 years ago, I did a double hour-long, 2 hours in total on Bitcoin. And I would get emails like that, where they would say, Phil, everything you said was wrong, which is why I was joking about with that at the beginning. And I said, I don't think I could talk for 2 hours and get everything wrong or everything right if my life depended on it. There'd be something I accidentally got wrong or I accidentally got right. For 2 hours, I talked about a subject. And so I said, okay, I can't respond to this bogus claim that I got everything wrong. Give me one specific thing that I can research. And they would never respond. And funny that we got to this point because this makes it more like a religion. You used to talk to people about religion, and you probably still do. And sometimes they're like, well, you just don't understand the Bible. Okay, well, explain it to me. And then they can't. And they're like, well, you just have to believe. Okay, well, if that's how crypto works, great. I don't want to play that game.
I'm frequently told that I don't know what I'm doing. And I guess, Doug, stop talking in chat about this, and everybody leave Doug alone, because I'm not going to go after somebody who says they've got PTSD, although I have no idea why that would stop somebody from calling into a show to talk about crypto. But whatever reason you're going to give for not wanting to call in, that means you need to just fucking drop it. Because one thing I don't allow here from anybody, and the mods will back this up, is if you're going to sit there and talk shit about me or my guest in chat or say we're wrong, but fail to call in, you'll be lucky if I don't ban you, because that is absolutely some cowardly shit that I will not tolerate. It's really easy to say, oh, these guys are stupid. They don't know what you're saying. Well, I wouldn't call in because you just hang up on me. Whatever. I hear that all the time. And the show's called The Hang Up because, yes, I'm famous for hanging up on people. But you know who gets hung up on? People who don't argue honestly. But so, yeah.
Yeah. It's a funny thing. And I hadn't even gotten into it. Of course, since Bitcoin is nearly half of the entire crypto market, I've lost track. There's probably now 20,000. And this is something I'm just saying, and I'm probably wrong, but I know it's tens of thousands or more than 10,000 crypto coins that are out there. And when I talk to a crypto aficionado, they'll say, well, most of those are what is called shit coins. And I said, well, we agree on 99.9% of all crypto coins are shit.
Have a look at the Wax blockchain. It's not as bad. It is even carbon neutral. And what I failed to mention earlier, like in this game, if I go look at my NFTs, When I did buy those that I did buy, they were level 1. And while I've been playing them, they've been leveling up, and the higher their level, the more their value. So if I do eventually intend on pulling out of the game, I can just put them on the market and some other player can buy them from me and just play his game.
But you think there's a handful that are valuable. Why? Why can you think that 99.9% of them are worthless, but this fraction isn't worthless? And you've probably heard the stories about Bitcoin and the phenomenal amount of energy that it takes to mine Bitcoin. And the more people that mine it, the more it costs to mine it. That's an inherent part of the system. And man, I know you did computer stuff. You did computer code and networking, and in a previous life, Bitcoin is inversely scalable. So the bigger it gets, the more people that use it, the more processing you have to run in a geometric fashion. It will suffocate under its own mass if it ever actually takes off, because you can't do the transactions in a timely manner. At some point, they were using like 3 or 4% of the world's energy, and they go, "Oh, what portion of the world's energy do banks use?" I don't fucking know, but it's probably more than Bitcoin, but it's way more transactions that are meaningful to people all around the world than what Bitcoin is. And we just don't need to do it that way. We don't need to have the proof of work concept.
And that's where proof of stake came in.
It doesn't work. And I don't know, just every time I look at it, it just seems stupider. It's like when I read the Bible. Every time I go and look in something, I go, it's stupider and stupider. The more I know about it, the more I hear about it, the more I look at it. And all I get is someone saying, everything you're saying is wrong. Okay, well, give us one thing and maybe we can look it up. But I don't know. I guess I should. Oh, I did launch, Matt. Did you know I launched a Philcoin?
Yes.
Yes. I launched a Philcoin, and I took a picture of a penny and I put it up on Facebook. And the penny is not a Philcoin. That's a very common misunderstanding, because not everybody's smart enough to understand the value of a Philcoin. But the penny was simply a physical manifestation of the Philcoin. So if you want a Philcoin, anyone that's listening, if you want a Philcoin, I will sell you one. The original offering price was $20,000, but now on the Phil exchange, there was one sale for $22,000 where I bought one of my own coins from myself, and then later I bought one for $24,000. So they're now $24,000 each, and the market cap will show that because it's the Philcoin, and there's been a transaction. So now we know it's actually worth that. There was an actual case where a guy took like $5 million and $5 million worth of a cryptocurrency and bought a NFT that he had created from himself. And after the transaction was done, he still had the $5 million in cryptocurrency. And now he had an NFT that was theoretically worth $5 million because that was the price someone paid for it, him. And so he doubled his money by making a trade. And you look at stuff like that and you say, please tell me again why this is all legitimate. If that can happen.
Yeah.
It's just whack.
Even if it were, you know, what a lot of people claim it is, the ability to do something like that.
Yeah.
It's granted, I'm all in favor of, for the most part, something's worth what someone will pay for it.
Yeah.
Fine. I don't like when, you know, you're exploiting people, either their need, their health, you know, oh, is insulin worth what we're paying for it right now? Is Mounjaro and my Jardiance, are they worth what we're being charged for them? When these are things that are keeping people alive, maybe we'll have a different conversation there. But if I've got you know, one of these Magic the Gathering cards that are in here, how much is it worth? Well, it's worth whatever people pay for it. And the only thing we can really do is go to sites and say, okay, they're currently tracking what people have paid, everything else. And there are cards, like I have a baseball card that might be worth some money. Who knows? And one of the things they do is they'll go to eBay and see what did the last one of these sell for here. And that's a good idea to find out what someone will pay for it, except that if I want to increase the price of it, I could put it up, have Phil buy it for X amount of money, and give it back to me, or sell it back to somebody else, or sell it around in a circle. I get 4 or 5 people, and all of a sudden, this particular card, which I have the only one of, well, it's probably not the only one of, but that's manipulating market value.
Yeah.
So the market value has to be about what people are honestly willing to pay for it.
When it's funny now because people that have invested real money into the crypto ecosystem are now calling for regulation. Some of them are. And I was like, regulation? What do you need regulation for? That was the whole point of this, was to avoid regulation. Well, we want to make sure that it's actually stamped and certified by the government that it's legit. No, I don't think there should be regulation. I think it should just be flat out illegal. There's no value to it. I don't know. I'm just going to repeat myself, but it's a funny thing because when you talked about the trading your card to yourself, other researchers have come up with data that's showing that something like 80-90% of Bitcoin transactions are between people that hold huge volumes of Bitcoin transactions to try to keep the price afloat. Because if they all stopped selling back and forth to each other, the price would plummet. Is that true? Is it not? I don't know. But there's no way to regulate it. One of the things that's also
I do not use Bitcoin or Ethereum for daily transactions.
Is that the transactions are secret? Well, they're not.
They're not.
They're kind of sort of well hidden, and might take some effort to figure out who you are, but they're not secret. And when someone or some government is motivated enough to figure out who's buying and who's selling, they can track you down. And thank goodness for that, because a ginormous international ring of people selling photos and videos of child abuse.
Legitimate places that do a KYC, know your client. Your wallet is basically anonymous until it receives a transaction from an exchange where you have identified yourself with, and then you're pretty much trackable all over the place.
Got busted because they were selling images and films with Bitcoins and didn't take any extra precautions to make it secret, because it's Bitcoin, you can't track us. Well, they got tracked. Goodness for who are, Bitcoin in particular, is that the transactions are secret. Well, they're not. They're kind of sort of well hidden, and might take some effort to figure out who you are, but they're not secret. And when someone or some government is motivated enough to figure out who's buying and who's selling, they can track you down. And thank goodness for that, because a ginormous international ring of people selling photos and videos of child abuse got busted because they were selling images and films with Bitcoins and didn't take any extra precautions to make it secret, because it's Bitcoin, you can't track us. Well, they got tracked and they got found. And some weird things that have happened, you can follow the patterns, kind of like code breaking. And one of the things that they used that was really helpful, there were some people that were buying this child abuse videos, and the power happened to go out. And so they were out of business for a couple of hours. And so the United States government was able to look around the United States and say, where was power out between 8:05 a.m. local time and 10:07 a.m. also local time for 2 hours and X number of minutes? And poof, you can narrow down to this really small physical area by some kind of outside pieces of information. And so they found out that the guy who was trafficking in all of this had a giant server farm in his house. And they knew the area that he was in, so they had vans drive around the neighborhoods looking for heat signatures. And they found a house that was way too hot. It's either growing pot, breeding snakes, I don't know, crypto maybe. And they had this big international team of people raid this guy's house and collect all the hardware and everything. And the thing that was the most beautiful, in one of the trucks that pulled up on the site, they had duplicate hardware that they put back into his house, but they had all designed the racks and the equipment and just rolled it into his house, plugged it back into the electricity, and hooked it back up to the internet, and then continued to buy and sell uh, child abuse videos because now they could easily track everybody that was doing it, and just picked up hundreds and hundreds of people around the globe.
I just quickly want to give my cat a snack. One moment.
So
we got
yay for Bitcoin in secret.
We got full lines, and some of them want to talk about crypto stuff. So we're going to start here with Fat Man in Oregon. Pronouns are he, him. Welcome, Fat Man.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Not a problem.
What I wanted to call about was, do you understand the concept behind how the crypto coins are created?
Is that for me, I guess?
Yeah.
Matt said no.
Either one of you.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
so,
what it comes down to is it's an algorithm. It's all encrypted, and it's mathematics. You're trying to basically you use a computer to figure out the mathematics that that's how you mine your coins.
Does knowing that information make Bitcoin actually valuable, or do you just want to explain it because it's something to explain?
No. What I believe, whether you guys do or not, it doesn't matter. What I believe is that in the future we will be using at least a form of cryptocurrency, because of how secure it is. The problem,
but it's not secure. That's one of the falsehoods. It's secure. It's not secure. It's easy to use. It's not easy to use. You're talking about the mining. If anything, the process that has gone through for Bitcoin, not all cryptocurrency works this way, but for Bitcoin is an environmental nightmare that we are propagating upon the planet for no real purpose whatsoever.
No argument
it doesn't make
there.
it more valuable. If anything, Bitcoin, like I said earlier, Fat Man, I'm assuming you know that there's a limit on the size of a block that gets added to the Bitcoin blockchain. And the size of that block is a certain amount of data and a certain amount of transactions that can be performed in an average of 10 minutes at a time, because every 10 minutes is when the coins are awarded to a miner who cracked the mathematical code that you talked about. And so if there are more transactions in the world than can fit into a block, you have to wait. And sometimes during high volume, people are waiting days and days and days to transact in Bitcoin. So one of the ideas that it's quick and efficient, okay, that's not true either. But if you want to have your Bitcoin transaction go quickly, you can pay and jump to the front of the line. And so now you're rewarding rich people by being able to make transactions where people that are poor have to wait days for transactions. Another thing that's the exact opposite of the theoretical benefit of something like Bitcoin. What else you got?
Well, I did not know about that. I did not know about being able to. I thought it was all a mathematical. I mean, it's how well your computer configure the.
So there is a mathematical algorithm that you have to solve and reverse engineer and match, and it takes a little bit of computer power at the beginning, but part of the Bitcoin blockchain code system process is that can only be solved once every 10 minutes. And so if one person's doing it, then it has to be really easy so that person can solve the puzzle, solve the math in 10 minutes. But if 10,000 people around the entire world are trying to solve it at the same time, you have to make the mathematical problem that you're solving, that you're reverse engineering, has to become more and more and more difficult, because as more people try to solve it, what you would have is, without an adjustment, it would get solved faster and faster. Well, Bitcoin, the rules for Bitcoin is that there's an additional amount of Bitcoins handed out to whoever solved the mathematical puzzle once every 10 minutes. So if there's a puzzle that's solved in 7 minutes, well, the next one has to be even harder to get the average back to 10. And so within that block, there's a certain data size limit. So there's only so many transactions that can happen. If more people try to solve the algorithm, it becomes harder. So it's like a dog chasing its tail, except for the dog is allowed to go faster and faster and faster and consume huge quantities of electricity while doing it. And people individually might benefit if someone sets up a server farm and uses the right kinds of chips. They could spend $500,000 in all this gear and $300,000 a year in electricity. But if they're making $400,000 a year, then it's kind of a profitable activity for them to do the mining. But it doesn't, it's just a lot of wasted energy. I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, Fat Man. My apologies.
No. I mean, what you're saying is interesting. I don't fully understand it. I've tried, and my head hurt afterward. But one of the problems that I foresee coming up in the future is, have you ever heard of a quantum computer?
I'm aware of those words being put together. I don't know what that means. Matt might know more about that than I do.
Well, right now they're in experimental stages, but once they start getting them more usable, where more people can access a quantum computer, unless they do something with the algorithm for cryptocurrency, it's gonna be too solvable. People are going to be able to hack hack.
I'll make one little adjustment to what you said because people will freak out. When I'm talking about the blockchain for Bitcoin, that's specific to Bitcoin because every single cryptocurrency can have different rules on how they operate. Bitcoin is the biggest by factor of 2 over Ethereum, and then it falls off from there very quickly. It's the one that has the 10-minute target for solving. But yeah, if computers become 100 times more powerful, then the riddle has to become 100 times harder. And so you're still going to consume huge amounts of electricity. Is it less or more? I don't know. But it's one of the things that drives this into the ground is that block size is limited. And a couple of years ago, there was a schism tying this into a religion, Matt, where different people that were involved with Bitcoin had the idea that we should increase the size of the block for each block that goes into the blockchain. And they created a new currency overnight called Bitcoin Cash. And so one day there was Bitcoin, the next day there was Bitcoin plus Bitcoin Cash.
Oh, wow.
And the really funny thing is that on the next day, if you added the two together, they were worth more than what Bitcoin was the day before. How does that happen? It doesn't, but it did, because it's all fantasy. And then you can have things like with Bitcoin, at least, you can have what's called a 51% attack. And most people now don't mine Bitcoin on their own because the cost is ridiculously high, and you might go months or years without being the one who solves the riddle. And if you don't solve the puzzle or the riddle, you don't get paid anything. So almost everybody joins up with a consortium, and at some point it was believed that more than half of this was based in China. Now, that probably is not the case anymore because the Chinese government has made it really hard to mine Bitcoin. But these large groups, if you get enough groups that have enough what they call hash power or processing power, where they are running 51% of all the production of cryptocurrency, they can all vote together to change the rules of what Bitcoin is. That's how you got Bitcoin Cash. So people would say that can't happen. It already has happened. So, or at some point in the past, I can't remember which currency it was, someone hacked in and stole like 80% of a crypto coin. And so they said, okay, you know what? We've all voted. We're going to do a do-over, and we're going to reset everything back to where it was yesterday, because they can, because it's just a little teeny bit of code that controls what a cryptocurrency is. So if you control enough of the marketing of the hashtag power. You can vote. You can make things change. You can break the system. You can approve double billing, or I can't remember what the right phrase is. But there's safeties put in where you can't spend the same Bitcoins twice. But if someone has enough power, they can spend the same Bitcoins twice because they affect the ledger and say that they didn't. And now the entire system is undermined. And if that happens, if someone figures a workaround for that, where they can keep using the same Bitcoins over and over and over, in 24 hours, the whole thing's done. And what was $300 billion of Bitcoin becomes $5 worth of Bitcoin because no one wants it. And you can't even sell what you have.
So instead of going on about
Yeah.
potential ways to break this, I'm gonna move us on here, Fat Man, because I got a bunch of other callers. I appreciate the call.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking my call. Thank you. And I learned a lot. Thanks a lot.
You're
Cheers.
very
Yeah.
welcome.
I'm confused because I'm not sure how much I'm learning, because my brain is, there's some conceptual error at the foundation of this, and I'm a reasonably intelligent guy. There's still some little piece of it I'm missing. One of the things that made me go down the path of, is crypto a religion, after being asked and being directed that, is the way that it's been selling, not the way that it works or what it does or anything else, but the way the devotees of crypto are evangelizing, proselytizing the value of their preferred crypto coin to other people. This is the marketing aspect of it that reminds me of religion, where it's like, because a currency is only going to increase in value if more people are involved to value it. If there was, your Phil coin, I'm sorry, isn't likely to be valuable to me or anybody else. But because there's going to be need to be more people involved. If you had everybody on the planet involved in Bitcoin, then Bitcoin would just be the new universal currency. It would probably undermine, and governments would adopt it as well as their preferred currency instead, because that's what has everybody involved. And if you had everybody involved to where this was just being traded, well, we'd probably run out of energy trying to mine enough coins to actually, or we'd exploit all of our resources doing it. But it's the process of selling and evangelizing this that is weird to me, because what I don't hear people say, here's the evidence, here's the model that shows why this particular cryptocurrency is preferred or we should switch to it. What I hear is, I did it and I made money, or I've got investments in it and I've seen it grow, even though they didn't cash out. But like you've said before, they are always measuring it in dollars. And if the standard that you're constantly measuring it against is some other currency, why are you trying to sell this other thing?
I think that part of it, and that's part of the beauty of all of this, because you say, is it an investment? Well, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Is it a currency? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Is it a religion? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's got all these features. I think in the way that you're talking about it, it's more like a multi-level marketing scheme.
I could see a Matt Delahanty NFT collection as a novelty item for supporters with some of his best one-liners. Doesn't necessarily have to be for the money.
Where I've seen these things where 3,000 people show up in a ballroom, and the person on the stage is a motivational speaker telling you how they've made millions of dollars helping people start their own businesses. And you can start your own business, and all you got to do is sign up, and it's $495. And then you buy all these DVDs and you buy all these books and you get your friends to sign up. And at some point, someone goes, well, how are you making money? Well, you make money just like me. You bring more people in just like me. You buy more books, you sell more books. And you're like, but how is the system on its whole making money? How does Bitcoin make any money?
At least with Amway, there was like a product. I mean, it was still a big old fucking scam, but at least there was some product. It's weird. This is, and somebody in chat mentioned Amway as well, but there's been several of those.
How much money have we all put into World of Warcraft and other games for years? Gone through the grinding, getting those items that you really wanted, and the day you decide you're not going to play anymore, you can't sell your items off to other players that would want it or get anything back. Whereas with NFT games, if you go grind dungeons, that item you're looking for could be a NFT in your wallet, which then equips your character in-game. Like character NFTs, you can level them up and sell them at a higher level when you eventually leave. Maybe just get a little something back, but at least your items are yours.